Welcome to the Experience Darden podcast. I'm your host, Brett Twitty, and you are listening to a new episode. On this episode of the podcast, I'm excited to share my recent conversation with Anna Caughron. Anna is Program Manager with Darden's Institute for Business and Society. And I recently connected with her to talk more about her background, what brought her to Darden, as well as her work with the Board Fellows program here at the Darden School of Business. I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation. And as always, if this conversation is helpful for you, please like this episode and subscribe to the Experience Darden podcast so you never miss an update. And remember, you can always check the episode description for links to Darden blogs, social channels, and more. Now, without further ado, here's my conversation with Anna Caughron. Anna, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to speak with you. Thanks so much for coming on the show. How's everything going? How are you doing?
I'm doing well. It's a rainy day here in Charlottesville.
All right. Well, it's good to speak with you. We always ask our guests the same first question. Tell us a little bit more about you and your background.
All right. Hi, I'm Anna Caughron. I am the program manager for the Darden Golub Capital Board Fellows program, which is a little bit of a mouthful. I have been here at Darden for just about 2 years now in the Institute for Business and Society, which is one of the centers of excellence that does a lot of the research work here at Darden. But before I came to Darden, I was the administrative director at the Living Earth School, which is a local outdoor education nonprofit that does a lot of really great programming for kids and adults in the Charlottesville area. And when I transitioned to working at Darden, I came specifically to be a grants manager for a specific grant, but that grant went away after a year. And so the position opened up to work with the Board Fellows program. We've partnered with Golub Capital to create this role and to make the program a lot more robust, which is very exciting. And so now I get to work with students and I get to work with nonprofits through the role. And so I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, what was interesting in particular about working with the Board Fellows program? It seems like you've got a real passion for nonprofit work.
Yes, I think the fact that it is an experiential education opportunity for MBA students that also in many ways gives back to local nonprofits, I think is really exciting. And I know at Darden, it can often be a little challenging for students to find ways to connect with the greater Charlottesville community. And so being able to be part of that bridge and make those connections is really exciting.
So tell us a little bit more about how that works. How are you a bridge between the students and these board opportunities? Tell us about your role a little bit more.
Okay, so my current role, I would say I am helping navigate the ship. A lot of the big work is done by the students who are board fellows and the faculty, and also our local nonprofit partners. So the students are matched with a local nonprofit board. They sit on the board for a year as a non-voting member from about August to April, so that an academic year, the second year of their time at Darden. And so they will also do courses and coursework in coordination with that. So they'll be learning about nonprofit management, understanding nonprofits, and board governance, all as a part of this program.
How do you see this fitting into the work that the students are doing as MBA students at Darden? Obviously, you must hear from the second year or so about the experience and kind of how they see it complementing the experience. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts as well.
I think a lot of the students that want to participate in this program are looking for ways to have their MBA extend beyond just their career, but also how they can continue to use it to give back to the greater communities, either where they are now or where they will end up post-graduation.
So you mentioned that you work with the students, you kind of help navigate the ship. How do you find out about the opportunities, the board positions? Do the nonprofit organizations reach out to you, to the students? Are you reaching out to the organizations? How does all that work?
So we're currently in our nonprofit application process. So there's an application for interested nonprofits to apply, and they will give us when their board meets and how frequently, what kind of organization they are, what their work is, and some ideas of projects that their board fellow might be interested in taking on. So whether that's, I don't know if I mentioned, so as part of the program, each board fellow sits on the board and attends as many board meetings as they can. They'll join committees if that's something that their board has. And then they will do a capacity building project for about 30 hours of work that is something that's more of a wish list item for their nonprofit. So maybe that's a marketing plan, maybe that's a fundraising development plan, maybe that's something in line with strategy or governance or board recruitment that can bring value to the board that they're working with.
Do you get to also have conversations with the different nonprofit organizations? I imagine it's quite a breadth of organizations. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of the organizations that students get to work with?
Yes. This program has been going on for a pretty long time. So some of our really long-term partners are Camp Holiday Trails and the Charlottesville Albemarle SPCA. Charlottesville also has an incredible density of nonprofits for the scale that we're at, and we're very lucky to have so many wonderful partners to work with.
How do you see this fitting in kind of with the mission of the Darden School? Obviously, the goal is to develop responsible leaders. I imagine this is one of the things I'll probably talk about when you think about this particular opportunity aligned with the MBA experience. I'm curious.
Oh, absolutely. We talk a lot about stakeholder theory at Darden and thinking about values-driven leadership and, as you said, responsible leaders. And so I think this is very much watching what that is in practice and being able to be in the room where a board is making decisions for the benefit of their organization. And what does that look like? And how do challenges get handled and in very real world ways that's beyond simply a case study. And I think that it's a really good example of we have organizations that are very small, and they're have a really big impact. I think it's sometimes students think that being on a board means a board of an enormous organization, right? But when you go down to a very local level, those decisions can make a really big difference. And those conversations can mean a lot.
What do you enjoy about working with business students or just students in general?
The Darden students that I get to work with are all very, very bright and passionate people and have a drive to do amazing things and do really well. And so I especially have enjoyed working with them through this program.
So I'm curious, like what you mentioned, you're in the application phase right now. Like, what's the rhythm of the work that you do? So, right, your nonprofits are applying to be part of the Board Fellows program now. But how does the year sort of shape up for you? What does it look like?
That's an excellent question. And as we're starting to wrap up my first year with the program, I'm finally starting to have seen the whole picture as we go through. So now we have the nonprofits applying. After the nonprofit application wraps up, we will have the students apply so that they can see all of the nonprofits who they could potentially be matched with. And that will be to begin their program for the full-time MBA students in August. And so they'll be matched with their nonprofit before they leave for the summer. So if they have the capacity to participate at all over the summer, they are welcome to, but everything really rubber hits the road in August when everybody comes back for their second year. And that's when they will start their coursework that's related to nonprofit governance and nonprofit management. And that will extend throughout the year. We've done several different kinds of events, both cohort building community events, but also alumni events and events for the nonprofit partners. Right now, we're gearing up for the Strategic Insights in Nonprofit Management Conference, which is probably going to be over by the time that this podcast comes out, but is the big time of the year that we are inviting all of our nonprofit partners and nonprofit leaders from around the area to get together for a day of learning from Darden faculty and also a day of networking. It's hard to get all of these nonprofit leaders in a room. And so it's a really special opportunity.
So do students get to pick the nonprofit they're working with or express a preference in some way?
Oh, certainly. I would call it more of a ranked choice system where it's the nonprofit that they're most excited by, but also the nonprofit that they have the time to actually participate with. So maybe if a nonprofit meets um, at one Wednesday a month, making sure that the student knows that they'll be available at that time is really helpful.
Can you give some examples of the kind of work that the students have done, like a tangible example? You mentioned a few things sort of categorically about how the students can help out, but is there a project or some sort of deliverable that comes to mind when you think about this board fellows and the work that the students have done?
Yes, we have a student currently working on how to bring in registrations for the kinds of programs that their nonprofit does and how to record everything, make sure that everything is all working well, and it's much more of an operations side. And we've had students do similar projects for like booking rental space with a nonprofit because some of our nonprofits have really great options to have other groups come and rent their space, but they hadn't up until that point had a system for it. And so creating systems like that has been one of the projects that our students have taken on.
Well, I'm curious, Anna, what else do you have that you're looking forward to in the coming months? Anything that you're excited about?
I'm really excited about having this. We are scaling the program. So we are scaling from 30 students to 50 full-time students next year is the goal. And we are also scaling into Roslyn at the Sands Family Grounds for our professional degree students, part-time and executive MBA format. So creating opportunities for those folks to also participate and work with boards up in Northern Virginia is that's a whole new area to me, and we are really looking forward to it. And we'll stay tuned for more on that.
What's the reason for the scaling? Why is this growth happening now, for example?
Well, the partnership with Golub Capital has given us the opportunity to really launch into a greater phase of what this can look like. And with the goal of how do we help our students see themselves as people who can participate not just now, but participate in boards and with nonprofits earlier in their career. And so there's alumni networks being built out across various major cities to bring board fellows together so that they have wherever our MBA students end up, they have a place to land and a way to get connected so that they can start participating in their community wherever they are. It's unique in that it is in partnership with other board fellows programs at other business schools, so that it is a broader network connection through Golub Capital.
And people may be curious about what Goal of Capital is. Would you mind sharing a little bit more about that organization?
So Golub Capital Board Fellows Network is the network of support for board fellows programs at a variety of top level business schools around the country. And so there with as Darden's goal, their goal is also to really create the next generation of students who will become nonprofit leaders in the future.
And you mentioned that there's some work being done to create essentially a network across these top business schools for people who served as board fellows.
Correct, with Compass Pro Bono, which is it. So as far as I can tell, is they're scaling out their operations quite a bit as well, which is exciting. They are putting together gatherings. They are helping with connecting nonprofits that need board members with alumni of board fellows programs and making sure that those alumni know each other and can talk to each other and building those connections as well. So I think that's a great opportunity for students after graduation, certainly.
Well, Anna, what is it that you really enjoy about the work that you do here at Darden?
I mostly enjoy working with students. I enjoy being able to hold those connections. And thankfully, I'm enjoying the events planning part that we're in right now. So there's a lot of that to do.
Well, last question for you. I want to see if you had any advice or something you'd encourage our prospective MBA students to consider as they think about their own MBA journey.
I'm certainly biased, but consider what experiential education opportunities are available. I know that 2 years goes by really quickly at MBA programs, and it's a huge undertaking. But thinking about what to get involved in even before you start, I think can make a really big difference about what you want to do while you're there. So.
Well, Anna, thank you so much for your time, and thanks for all the work that you're doing with the Board Fellows program. It's been great to hear about the program's growth and expansion, and excited to hear about what's to come. That's great that you're expanding into the professional degree programs.
Thanks. Thank you for having me on.
That was my conversation with Anna Caughron, Program Manager with Darden's Institute for Business and Society. As always, if you have any comments, suggestions, requests, and you'd like us to cover here on the podcast, we're all ears. We can be reached at Darden, that's DARDEN, @virginia.edu. Until next time, stay safe, be well, and thanks for listening.